الحمد لله رب العالمين وأفضل الصلاة وأتم التسليم على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا وحبيبنا ومولانا محمد الصادق الأمين المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وعلى آله الطاهرين الطيبين وعلى أصحابه أجمعين وعلى أزواجه أمهات المؤمنين وعلى ذريته إلى يوم الدين. سبحانك اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا اللهم علما وعملا متقبلا آمين يا رب العالمين. وبالإسناد المتصل إلى الحبيب عبد الرحمن ابن عبد الله بالفقيه رحمه الله تعالى ونفعنا به آمين. قال في كتابه 40 حديثا في فضل القرآن العظيم: الحديث السادس عن علي بن أبي طالب رضي الله تعالى عنه وأرضاه قال: قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم, the Holy Prophet, upon him blessings and peace, said, as narrated or as cited by Shaykh Habib Abd Allah Balfaqih in his book of 40 Hadiths on the excellence of the Qur'an: من قرأ القرآن فحفظه واستظهره وأحل حلاله وحرم حرامه, whoever reads or recites the Qur'an and then memorizes it and then declaims it or recites it out loud with strength and confidence and clarity, that is استظهار, يعني أظهر الشيء مع العمل. With استفعل form involves effort and pursuit and study of something or working through something. So استظهر يعني is stronger than أظهر. أظهر is to show, to display, but istazhara is to show is with force and strength and power and confidence. Yani reciting strongly and clearly so that people can really take it in and receive the message better. And so that takes exercise and rehearsal and memorization and so forth, and correction also by teachers. قال وأحل حلاله وحرم حرامه, and then treats its licit as licit, يعني with belief and practice, and treats its illicit as illicit. أدخله الله الجنة وشفعه في 10 من أهل بيته كلهم قد استوجبوا النار. Allah shall cause them to enter paradise and shall grant them to intercede on behalf of 10 of their close relatives, Ahli Baytihi, and the people of his house. So what is the difference between Ahl and Al? It's the same thing, except that Al is more elevated as a word. Al is more important and momentous and heavy as a word. But it's the same thing, and the people of their house, 10 of them, he will intercede for 10 of them that otherwise would have to be in hellfire. والعياذ بالله. رواه الترمذي والبيهقي وابن عساكر. الحديث السابع عن سعيد بن سليم مرسلا عن النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. So it is a tabi'i narrating from the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم with the companion link missing. But let's skip this one and go to the second next one, meaning number 14, because it is the strongest one in this section. قال وروى مسلم عن أبي أمامة رضي الله تعالى عنه أنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم اقرأوا القرآن, read and recite the Qur'an, فإنه يأتي يوم القيامة شفيعا لأصحابه, for it shall come interceding on the day of resurrection for its friends and for those who have it, for its companions. اقرأوا الزهراوين, read the two that are full of light. Al-Baqarah wa al-Imran. Surah Al-Baqarah and Surah Al-Imran. So they are called the Zahrawain because Zahra means radiant, shining, resplendent, like Fatima al-Zahra radiallahu ta'ala anha, and the Azhar University, Jami' al-Azhar, the mosque at first and then the university. So أو كأنهما غمامتان أو غيايتان, like two clouds full of rain. It will come like two clouds full of rain, full of life. أو كأنهما فرقان من طير صواف, or like two huge rows of birds flying in rows or lined up. Like صافات ويقبضن in Surah Al-Naba. Surah Al-Naba or Al-Mulk. نعم. طير صواف يحاجان عن أصحابهما, they will advocate for their companions, meaning those that are memorizers of Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran. And those that are the companions considered those who memorized Al-Baqarah and Al-Imran as a shaykh in the full sense of the word, يعني a leader, a teacher of people, because they contain so much knowledge, so many rulings and teachings. اقرأوا سورة البقرة, read and recite the Surah of Al-Baqarah, يعني the cow, and Al-Imran, the house of Imran, the family of Sayyidina Isa ibn Maryam and his mother. فإن أخذها, يعني for verily taking and holding in oneself the Surah of Al-Baqarah, فإن أخذها بركة, is a huge blessing. Why huge? Because when barakah is left in the indefinite, it means abundance, multitude of something, importance and greatness of something. So the indefinite, the tankir of the word can convey magnificence and importance, ta'zim, magnification of it. من أراد الله به خيرا يفقهه في الدين. Whoever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala desires khayran for them, meaning not just goodness but immense goodness, great goodness, then he gives them deep understanding of the faith and its system. He continues now.
I don't have after.
Yeah, no, this is just, I'm adding this from the hadith of Sayyidina Muawiyah radiallahu anhu from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Sahih al-Bukhari. Whoever Allah desires great good for, to illustrate the fact that khair is nakira. It's not al-khair, just goodness or the good. It is khairan. So khairan here is superlative. It is great, a lot of it. So the same as barakah here. إن أخذها بركة وتركها حسرة, and leaving it, يعني Surah Al-Baqarah, leaving it is حسرة, يعني sorrow, regret. ولا يستطيعها البطلة, and the batala have no power against it. That's what يستطيع means here. And what does batala means? Well, batala يعني in the sense of mubtilun, يعني people of falsehood, but it means magicians here. You see, so Surah Al-Baqarah, magic is powerless against it. It is enough that magic is powerless against Ayat al-Kursi, especially, which is you might say the heart of Surah Al-Baqarah is Ayat al-Kursi, but the whole surah is full of power and a great defense. So this is what it means, and that hadith is mentioned at the very end of Tafsir Surah Al-Baqarah in the Tafsir of Imam al-Baydawi rahimahullah ta'ala. الحديث الثامن, the 8th hadith, عن أنس رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أهل القرآن هم أهل الله وخاصته رواه النسائي وابن ماجه والحاكم. The people of the Qur'an, they are the people of Allah, but this is a weak translation. The strong translation is they are the relatives of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ahlullah. And it's confirmed by what comes next, which is synonymous. Wa khassatuh, and his intimates. And those that are special to him, close to him, and with access to him that no one else has. So they are exclusive and they are special to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And what does it mean to be the relatives of Allah, to be the special people of Allah, to be the intimates of Allah, the people that are dear to Allah? It is not just a huge compliment and a sort of commendation and a high title of honor. It's not just that, it's more than that. It is actually, our teacher said, Shaykh Nuruddin Aid rahimahullah ta'ala, I remember that he said for this hadith that it is a fiqhi hadith par excellence, and it is an istinbat fiqhi, yani a legal juridical extraction of the meaning of being a student and a memorizer of the Qur'an and someone who practices the Qur'an. Because when you read the word of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and you memorize it and take it to heart and you make it your flesh and blood, of course then you're going to be one of the people of Allah, because that is his speech. You see, so it is more palpable and literal than we can imagine this hadith. Think on it and try to go beyond just the apparently symbolic honor of all the people of Allah. They are special, that's it. No, this is very real and very practical and has to do with embodying the Qur'an. Like the Holy Prophet ﷺ, كَانَ خُلُقُهُ al-Qur'an. His nature was the Qur'an. His whole being was the Qur'an. So you are one of the closest of people to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Hadith al-Tasi', the 9th hadith, عن عثمان بن عفان رضي الله تعالى عنه وأرضاه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم خيركم من تعلم القرآن وعلمه. The best of you are those who learn the Qur'an and teach the Qur'an. MashaAllah, look at that. Yani, putting the easiest thing first and giving it precedence. This is great rahmah. Just learning the Qur'an, then you become the best of people. And then teaching the Qur'an, also the best of people. رواه البخاري. قال الحديث العاشر عن النعمان بن بشير رضي الله تعالى عنهما, يعني the Sahabi, son of the Sahabi. قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم أفضل عبادة أمتي قراءة القرآن. رواه أبو نعيم. And this is a very important hadith also and full of fiqhi meanings. يعني full of, it has a very strong relationship with the understanding of the importance of the Sharia and the legal rulings, the sacred law and the legal rulings, because the Quran is the reference work for them. So the best of worship is to read the Quran, but with understanding, with belief, with practice, not just to be some worldly reader that just markets their knowledge of the Quran as someone who reads it but doesn't believe in it, reads it and might teach it to his likes or to Muslims, but he or she himself or herself doesn't believe in it. What's the benefit? Is it a book of literature? No. A book of poetry? No. It is more than a world heritage book. It is a divine book. It is from out of this world.
I have tilawatul Qur'an.
And then to put it into practice also. For belief is defined as practice. It's not just kind of belief in a vacuum, but when it comes to deeds, maybe and maybe not. No. It, as we read before, حلل حلاله حرم حرامه. So you have وتلاوته.
أفضل عبادة أمتي تلاوة القرآن instead of قراءة. That's what I have.
Oh. تلاوة القرآن. Very good. So tilawa is recitation also, and chanting the Quran. Tala, tilawatan, or tartil is the chanting. No, tartil is to recite slowly, clearly. Rattala tartila. You can say tilawa, but qira'a includes also just reading, not only reciting. Anyway, in both senses, it has to involve more than just reading or recitation, right? And this is how he explains it. He says, وَإِنَّمَا كَانَ أَفْضَلَ الْعِبَادَةِ. And the only reason why it is the best of worship is because لِأَنَّهُ ذِكْرٌ, because it is remembrance, وَعِلْمٌ, and knowledge, وَحِفْظٌ, and memorization, وَغَيْرِ ذَلِكَ, عمل, and اعتقاد, belief. الحديث الحادي عشر عن عقبة بن عامر رضي الله عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم لو كان القرآن في إهاب ما أكلته النار. If the Quran were inside a skin, fire would not consume that skin. That meaning, if it is in the heart of a person, that person would not be consumed by hellfire. And has also been witnessed that volumes of the Quran did not burn in several fires. Right? So people look at that as a metaphor. To see that is like a metaphor for the real meaning, which is not the fire of this world. And the skin is not just the leather cover. Right? And the Quran is not just the Mus'haf. It is more than that. So we see the protection from fire in a fire in this world as a metaphor for the protection from hellfire, not vice versa. Right? Because al-aish, aishul akhirah. The real life is the life of the hereafter. نعم. الحديث الثاني عشر, the 12th hadith. عن أبي هريرة رضي الله تعالى عنه قال قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إن الله عز وجل قرأ طه وياسين. And in some manuscripts of the Qur'an and of the tafsirs also, we sometimes see alayhi salam after Surah Taha alayhi salam. يعني in a minority of the manuscripts, majority do not have that mention. But we see that, so it's good to notice that. Like for example, Surah Al-Anbiya alayhimus salam, it's good to notice that some manuscripts have that high adab. And that, of course, is undisputed, Al-Anbiya alayhi salam. But more rare, Surah Maryam, for example, alayha salam. That is more rare. And even less rare, more rare than that, even less frequent, is Taha alayhi salam, Yasin alayhi salam. Because these are also considered names of the Holy Prophet, Sayyidina Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Taha and Yasin. So the hadith states that verily Allah, the Almighty, the Glorious, recited Taha and Yasin, meaning the surahs of Taha and Yasin. قبل أن يخلق الخلق بألف عام, before he created creation by 1,000 years. فلما سمعت الملائكة القرآن قالت, when the angels heard the Qur'an, because the angels love to hear Qur'an, but they do not recite it, but they love to hear it. قالت, they said, طوبى لأمة تنزل عليهم هذا. So تنزلوا would be the shorter form for تتنزل, but هذا is masculine, so it would be the shorter form for يتنزل, not تتنزل, يتنزل. يتنزل becomes تنزل. We say, so it's as if they are saying يتنزل عليهم هذا. And what is طوبى? An expression of blessings. May blessings be, or blessings are for them. And طوبى has been also said to be the name of a huge tree in paradise. In other words, they are the recipients of the benefits of that tree and its surroundings and its paradise, its garden. So, Tuba belongs to a nation on whom this comes down, or upon whom this is revealed. وَطُوبَى لِأَجْوَافٍ تَحْمِلُ هَذَا. And Tuba belongs to cores, jawf, yani the cavity of the body, the heart, jawf, because this is where the memorization takes place. This is where niyyah is seated, and this is where reason and mind reside also, according to the hadith, al-aqlu fil qalbi. Reason and mind resides in the heart. So this is why, if we want to say I understand, say عقلت فلا يعقلون فلا تعقلون. You not understand. So عقل الشيء, to tie it, because this is what also iqal means, yani a fastening implement, a rope to tie with, to fasten it, because you tie it to yourself, it stays with you. You have understood it and memorized it. So jawf therefore stands for that as well. There are so many words for hearts in this respect. In the Quran we have qalb, lub, fuad, hijr. هل في ذلك قسم لذي حجر. يعني, is there a greater oath for someone who has a heart to understand? Allahu Akbar. So, and there are more. And so Jawf also stands for the heart. And heart itself stands for so many other levels. First and foremost, most literal, of course, understanding, as we said, but also love and worship, devotion, and closeness. طيب. الحديث الثالث عشر. The 13th hadith.
Did you read?
Yes, let's finish it first. The 12th hadith. And Tuba belongs, and that blessing and that blessed tree belongs to the ummah on whom this descends. وَطُوبَى لِأَجْوَافٍ تَحْمِلُ هَذَا. And blessings to hearts or to cores, the core of a person, the inward core of a person. Yani it's their innermost self that carry this, that carry the Qur'an. And وَطُوبَى لِأَلْسِنَةٍ تَنْطِقُ بِهَذَا. And blessings and tuba belongs also to tongues that utter such as this speech. Tongues that utter such as this speech are purified by that speech, divine speech. And the miracle also of the created tongue of human beings reciting the uncreated speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Al-Hadith al-Thalith Ashar, the 13th hadith. عن أبي سعيد سعد بن مالك الخدري الأنصاري رضي الله تعالى عنه. So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri is known more by his kunya, his technonym of Abu Sa'id, but his first name is Sa'd, and he is one of the many Sa'd ibn Malik among the companions. There's maybe 17 of them. Sa'd ibn Malik, and many of them were Ansaris also. طيب. He said, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم يقول الرب تبارك وتعالى. The nurturing Lord, most high and most blessed, says, من شغله القرآن عن ذكري وعن مسألتي. Whoever is kept too busy by the Qur'an from asking me and from remembering me other than by reciting the Qur'an, أعطيته أفضل ما أعطي السائلين. I still nevertheless give him the best of what I give to those that remember me and ask me, because he's busy with my speech. So your requests are covered, even if you do not stop to say, oh Allah, I'm asking you something special through this. Allah knows your requests and your need, and He gives you without your asking, as long as you are busy with the Qur'an. أعطيته أفضل ما أعطي السائلين وفضل كلام الله على سائر الكلام كفضل الله على خلقه. And then this second half of the hadith we have already read as a standalone hadith, and the superiority of the speech of Allah over all other discourses is as the superiority of Allah over His creation. And this is a strong proof also for the uncreatedness of the Qur'an, being one of the attributes of Allah, the attribute of kalam and speech. قال الحديث الرابع عشر, the 14th hadith. عن عقبة بن عامر رضي الله عنه قال خرج علينا رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ونحن في الصفة. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم came out as we were in the shelter of the mosque, الصفة, يعني the awning. Awning is like the shaded area that is jetting out from the roof. The roof can be extended with sticks that are fixed and over which you can throw some kind of cover, branches or a cloth or whatever, to create what? A shade under it. So people can lean against the building or sit in its surrounding outside it to drink in the air, at the same time being sheltered from the heat of the sun. And even sleep there. Ahlul Sufa were those that were in the outside awning of the mosque and using that space for themselves and to be near the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we were there. He came out. فقال, and he said, أيكم يحب أن يغدو كل يوم إلى بطحان أو العقيق. He says, who of you, and he's addressing the poorest of the companions here, Ahlul Sufa, 100 and some, and their names were listed in Abu Nu'aym's Hilyat al-Awliya and other sources, one by one, and documented. So he says to them, those that were present, which of you would like or would love to go early every day in the morning to Bathan, a valley in Medina, or Al-Aqiq, another place also? Buthan. Okay. Bathan or Buthan. فيأتي بناقتين كومائين من غير إثم ولا قطيعة رحيم, and then come back with 2 huge camels without having committed any crime and without also any severing of ties. يعني, in other words, no one is displeased and no one considers it a crime against themselves for those poor companions to go and take those 2, each one of them to take 2 of those fatted camels. And so كومائين يعني عظيمتين, huge camels. فقلنا يا رسول الله كلنا نحب ذلك. So we said, of course, all of us, Ya Rasulullah, all of us, Messenger of Allah, would love that. قال, he said, أفلا يغدو أحدكم إلى المسجد فيتعلم. And then he said, then why doesn't one of you go up early, يعني before the time of Salah, and sit in the mosque and learn? فيتعلم, learn, meaning learn something. أو يقرأ, or recite آيتين من كتاب الله, 2 verses from the book of Allah. يعني go and learn 2 verses. Go and practice 2 verses. It is like as if you come back home with 2 Rolls Royce. Is that what's the price of a camel? That is, a prized camel can fetches the equivalent of a luxury car for those that can afford them. No. But they come back with better than that. من كتاب الله آيتين من كتاب الله خير له من ناقتين. It is even better for him than 2 camels. وثلاث خير له من 3. And 3 verses are better for him than 3 camels. وأربع خير له من أربعين, and 4 better than 4. ومن أعدادهن من الإبل, and better than as many as you care to number or count of the camels, because camels have a limited lifespan and end up, as all living things do, as just dust and bones, gone, dust in the wind. But the signs of Allah that you learn and that you put in your jawf and that you practice and believe and that stay with you, and they will show up when everything is dust. They will show up on the day of resurrection. You will say, this is my friend, kept me with him. So they will intercede for you. Jazakallah. And then we reach the 15th hadith, and this is where we will pick up inshallah next time. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.